Russia claims massive strikes across Ukraine, at least 6 dead. KYIV, Ukraine, dozens of missiles rained down on several parts of Ukraine early Thursday, killing at least 6 people. President Volodymyr Zelensky said Russian missiles hit critical infrastructure and residential buildings across the country. Ukraine's armed forces said air defenses intercepted 34 of the 81 Russian missiles and 4 Iranian-made Shahed drones. Russia's defense ministry said it carried out a massive retaliation strike after an attack on Bryansk, a Russian village close to the Ukrainian border last week. Moscow blamed Kyiv for the attack. Ukraine denied involvement. A group of Ukraine-based Russian far-right fighters claimed responsibility for the incursion. Here's the latest on the war and its ripple effects across the globe. Key developments. The Russian strikes killed 5 people in the region of Lviv and another in the Dnipropetrovsk region, authorities said. The attacks also wounded 2 people in Dnipropetrovsk and another 2 in the capital, Kyiv. The Kharkiv region was struck 15 times, its governor said on Telegram. In total, the attacks targeted 10 of Ukraine's regions, including Lviv, Zhytomyr, Dnipropetrovsk, and Kirovohrad, Zelensky said. Russia used Kinzhal hypersonic weapons in the missile attack, Ukraine's armed forces said. The weapons, which Kyiv is unable to intercept, were first used against Ukraine last March and have been fired several times since then. Russian President Vladimir Putin boasted in 2018 that the missile travels at 10 times the speed of sound and can evade air defenses. And President Biden said last March that the missile was almost impossible to stop. The strikes forced the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant to run on emergency power for the 6th time since Russia's invasion, prompting the head of the International Atomic Energy Agency to urge immediate action. Each time we are rolling a dice, Rafael Mariano Grossi said of the situation at Zaporizhzhia, Europe's largest nuclear power station, in a statement Thursday. And if we allow this to continue time after time, then one day our luck will run out. The missile strikes came a day after UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres visited Kyiv and stressed the importance of safety at Zaporizhzhia and other Ukrainian nuclear plants. Battleground updates. Moscow could soon take control of Bakhmut after a bloody, months-long battle there, NATO Secretary-General Jens Stoltenberg said Wednesday. We cannot rule out that Bakhmut may eventually fall in the coming days, he said. But he cautioned that a Russian takeover of the city, which would be seen as a largely symbolic victory, would not reflect any turning point of the war. U.S. Director of National Intelligence Avril Haines said Putin is facing considerable constraints and may see prolonging the war as his best remaining pathway to eventually securing Russia's strategic interests in Ukraine. She made the remarks to a panel of senators at an annual hearing on global security threats. She also said that U.S. intelligence officials do not foresee the Russian military recovering enough this year to make major territorial gains. Germany and Poland announced they will deliver 28 Leopard 2 tanks to Ukraine this month. German Defense Minister Boris Pistorius said his country will send 18 tanks, and Defense Minister Mariusz Błaszczak said Poland will deliver 10 tanks by the end of the week, Reuters reported. Global impact. Russia says it does not believe that the Nord Stream explosions could have been carried out without state support after Western officials said they suspected pro-Ukrainian saboteurs may have been behind the September blasts. Speaking Thursday, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said any Russian involvement in the blasts, which targeted undersea pipelines carrying Russian gas to Europe, would have been akin to chopping off your own leg. Both Ukraine and Russia rejected the reports of pro-Ukrainian involvement, with Moscow claiming without evidence that the United States was seeking to hide its own role in the attack.